We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Another exciting episode of Two Men in Black and White, and just a couple of yahoos with streaming capability, looking at the world through the lens of the African American and the Jewish American community. We are joined by a very special guest, Hervé Francois, who joins us now, our special correspondent, to give us his insight on what we are seeing now as the wheels continue to come off the bus known as the US of A. Hervé, thanks for joining us, my friend.
Always a pleasure, Mark. Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure to see you guys again. And Happy New Year to you and your families. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday.
Absolutely. Brock and Ellis here with us.
Yeah, we did. And then reality kicked in again.
Yeah, as soon as we turn our computers back on. You know, nonetheless, Hervé, let's begin with you, man. We saw this murder of Renee Good, say her name. And today, miraculously enough, the Department of Justice Civil Rights Criminal Division has refused to investigate the shooting by this so-called law enforcement officer of Renee Good. The top official in the Civil Rights Criminal Division has declined to investigate. What does that say about the state of Black and brown folks in America? There is no recourse right now.
Where do you stand? What are your thoughts on the fact that we can't even get the Civil Rights Division of DOJ to look at a shooting that was plain sight, middle of the street, videotaped by a good 10, 12 people?
I don't know if you guys also saw, right, when you're talking about the wheels coming off and the walls caving in, you had 3 prosecutors, federal prosecutors that reside in the state of Minnesota. They're the ones that were going to argue in defense of the ICE officers, right? Because they're the federal prosecutors. And they resigned, okay?
Yeah.
They all work for the Department of Justice, but the Minnesota office, right? And they resigned.
Yeah.
And they resigned because of 2 reasons. Number one, that the DOJ did not want to share information with the other side, right? With the Minnesota police that was going to do investigation as well. And as well, they're not making this ICE agent available for any kind of question. Questioning and everything else like that.
Ridiculous.
They hit him. So, you know, look, I take it back 5.5 years ago when George Floyd was murdered, right? And whatever you think about George Floyd being murdered, at the end of the day, there was a very thorough investigation by both sides, right? By both the prosecution and by both the defense attorneys. The officer was charged. He faced a trial, convicted, found guilty, serving time. Could have gone the other way. No different than when Rodney King was beat by the LA police officers back in the early 90s, right? So it could have gone the other way. But at least those 2 cases had investigations. We're talking about a case here that may not even have an investigation. Or if it's going to have an investigation, it's going to be spearhead, open and shut case by the FBI, right? Which we all know is in the back pockets of Donald Trump as it is, right? So it's truly, therefore, not an investigation if it can't be investigated by both sides. So now, if there's not going to be an investigation on a daylight shooting with all kind of evidence around, I've never seen so many different interpretations of the same video that's been sent around over the past 4 or 5 days. I'm like, I know what I saw. You can't tell me what I saw. I saw what I saw, right? Kind of like how there are different interpretations on truly what happened on January 6th. We all see the same videos, but nevertheless different interpretations of those same videos. Same thing here. But there was an investigation on those that stormed the Capitol in January 6th, right? A lot of those that stormed the Capitol, they lawyered up, they got their attorneys, FBI did an investigation, they checked cell phones, facial recognition software, and so on and so forth. Those they went to, there was a trial, found guilty, convicted, go off to jail, right? Now they were pardoned. But there was an investigation done on January 6th. There was an investigation done on the death of George Floyd. There was an investigation done on the beating of Rodney King. there may not be an investigation here. Say what you want about our country, man, woman, young, old, black, white, whatever. Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. That is what separated us from the rest of everyone else, was law and order. We know that the law is not implemented and executed correctly at all times. We know that there's a lot of innocent folks that are sitting in jail cells right now. We get that. But we had law and order. And now we are operating in a country, or at least this case, if you want to extrapolate it, without laws. Which truly makes it no different than what's going on in my parents' home country of Haiti, where you have gangs running the street without laws. Also, by the way, masked up in Haiti.
Are they government sanctioned in Haiti?
No, they're just gangs.
Okay.
But there's no one that's bringing
rebels
them to justice when they do wrong.
Yeah.
Same thing with these ICE officers.
I mean, I would argue it's worse if they're government sanctioned, because they have what's the word, the impromptu or whatever of the people. In essence, they're working for us. We're paying them, right? It's our tax dollars.
Yeah. We're paying them to brutalize us.
Yeah, in theory, they're out there to act in the best interests of the American people. So yeah, I find it worse to be government sanctioned.
Yeah, but Hervé is saying we're no different than Iran right now. Our death toll is just lower.
Yes, I mean what I'm saying right now is here. I mean, it's a great point, Mark. Right, we're about to go ahead and do whatever we're going to do in Iran to protect the protesters. God forbid we have protesters here in our country, specifically in blue cities. Forget about it.
That protection.
Our protesters get attacked. Imagine if Iran said, we want to come to the United States to protect protesters in blue cities, such as St. Paul and Minneapolis and things like that, Washington, D.C. and Philly and New York and things like that, Iran or another country for that matter, right? So what I'm saying is that if this government is going to let ICE agents run amok, do whatever, whenever, without justification, without provocation, without any kind of proper steps, search warrants, knock search warrants, and so on and so forth, then truly the wheels have come off. Truly, who are we? Why pick up the phone and even call 911, right? To the point where, hey, Mr. ICE officer, if you're going to take the laws into your own hands, well, then why shouldn't I take laws into my own hands?
Mm-hmm.
Because officers are also supposed to be conducted under the law. That's why there's an investigation in a police shooting.
Sure.
Now, that officer could be exonerated. He may be found guilty. But nevertheless, there's always an investigation in a police shooting. We had a police shooting in broad daylight here with this ICE officer killing Renee Good, and there may not be an investigation. I don't remember last time we've seen anything like that. There's always an investigation. We may not like the outcome of the investigation, but there's always an investigation. So that's why I equate ourselves with what's going on in third world countries when the military arm of a president or a government or just folks can go into your house, can go into your car and do anything that they want to you without repercussions. Because what message does that send to all the other ICE agents when there may not be an investigation done in this ICE agent that killed Renee Good last week? We're protected. We could do whatever we want.
Yeah.
So you talk about training. It's like, why have training for? Training for what? You have 47 days of training to become an ICE agent. The number 47 for a reason. Think about it. Okay, so 47 days for training, but why training? For what? The proper way to enter a house, the proper way to stop a car. You guys aren't doing anything proper.
Right.
You guys aren't doing it. This is why the police chief of Philadelphia, she was very vocal about it. She's like, you guys are not law enforcement officers. First of all, law enforcement officers don't walk around with masks on.
None of them. None of them.
So anyway, it's this is someone, I was watching a post on one of these social media apps, and they were comparing these ICE agents to the KKK.
Mm.
Around the 20s, Indiana, and just, protect people's lands and everything else like that. You can certainly argue, right? KKK was a white supremacist organization.
No
White
doubt.
supremacist organization.
Still is.
Still is. Excuse me. ICE is not a white supremacist organization.
Not supposed to be.
You look at these ICE agents, they're of all colors. You've got black ICE agents, you've got Latino ICE agents, you've got white ICE agents. ICE is not out there to enforce an immigration policy because we don't have an immigration policy. Trump could have gone ahead when he became president a year ago, said, okay, I know that you guys in February of 2024, you put together a bipartisan immigration bill that you wanted at the time President Biden to sign off on. Remember, Josh Hawley from Arkansas got in on it. Bernie Sanders got in on it. It was a bipartisan immigration bill. What did Trump tell Republicans in the House and in the Senate in February 2024?
You better not.
Yeah, squash it.
Sign this, right? So when he became president a year ago, what could he have done? Okay, we're going to revive the bill. We're going to make some edits. We're going to Trumpize the bill. We're going to make some edits and we're going to go ahead and pass it through. He didn't want to do that. You could have done that rather than put out $30 billion in this bill last July for more ICE agents.
Well,
Hervé, Mark, let me jump in. Hervé, I'm going to disagree on this point. I do believe ICE is a white supremacist organization, even if there's people of color in it. I think, look, there were Jews who went along with the Nazis, right? It was still the Nazis because there's always some people who think it's not them or they're deemed, right, the good ones, right? I don't know what goes through their head. I think there's other people of color who maybe they don't think they're a part of a white supremacy organization. They may just buy into they're part of a law enforcement organization, and it hasn't dawned on them yet.
That's right.
My bet is and it's a pretty good paycheck, right? So I get that. That's clouding people's vision, right? When you're getting that signing bonus and making good money with federal benefits, all of a sudden it's like, wow, I'm doing right by my household. So I think they're maybe in a little bit of a denial about the broader mandate of the organization they're a part of. That's my opinion. I think that they're going to peel off over time as they realize that they are a part of white supremacist organizations. That's kind of my prediction, but just that's my thoughts on it, Mark. I don't know where yeah, maybe it's wishful thinking, but I do think it's a white supremacist organization because the people running it are giving them a mandate to function in a fashion that is benefiting their white supremacy Project 2025, takeover of the country. So that's my thought there.
Hervé, did we not know that our civil liberties would be impacted for Trump 2.0? I mean, this is what we asked for. This is what we wanted.
Well, listen, to your point, in Project 2025, because Brock brought it up, they did state in Project 2025 how they were going to be putting our military on the streets, right? Kamala Harris at the time spoke about it, right? During her campaign, right? During the presidential campaign 2020.
She warned you.
They warned you, right? And they put it in writing for you, for the love of God. Things can be in writing, things could be said on both sides. What we are realizing now is to the extent that they are willing to go ahead and put the military out into the streets, doubling down, sending an additional 2,000 federal officers to Minneapolis, right? That's just throwing gasoline on the flames, if you will, out there, right?
Right.
And so on and so forth. Mark, I'm with you. There is definitely heightened risk when he got elected that our civil liberties would be at risk. And you're seeing that, right now, again, with the killing of Renee Good. Again, you know what, I just remember one of the reasons why these three prosecutors in the state of Minnesota working for the DOJ, that they resigned today was because the DOJ, they wanted them to go ahead and investigate the wife of Renee Good. I don't know why they wanted her to be investigated. I'm like, she's the wife. Would you want to
creating a narrative?
Yeah,
I guess
they want to.
Yeah, and I don't know what that narrative.
They want to paint her as an insurrectionist. They want to paint her as an enemy of the state. Then it's a back-ass justification for the murder You
I
know,
think so.
that's
But
Now,
and that
Hervé,
was
Hervé,
yep.
I'm sorry. Just a quick point here. This is not new. Might I refer you to J. Edgar Hoover, who
Yes,
painted
100%.
Dr. King as a
Yes.
Marxist-Leninist,
Yes.
right? And
But
and
Mark,
and
the one difference I would say though, Mark, is that this would presume that the ICE officer that shot and killed Renee Good in the face last week, that he knew who she was before he killed
yeah,
her.
who
To
she was,
her, she was just a driver in the car that he
right?
believed was trying to run her over. He didn't know that she was Renee Good.
Right.
Right? So that you want to try to go ahead and paint her and her family as this domestic terrorist, as this insurrectionist, as this radical left, whatever title they want to put on Democrats nowadays, that would presume that this thing was a setup from the jump that Renee Good is going to get in her car as a domestic terrorist, radical left, and she's going to run over an ICE officer and to protect his life, he's going to shoot her a couple of times in the head. Come on, man. You didn't know who the hell that woman was before
Exactly.
you freaking popped off shots on her.
yeah, but there's a
And
massive.
that's my whole thing. But Brock, you're right. Both of you guys are right. Why would they want to interview the wife of Renee Good? She wasn't even in the car at the time. Why would you want to investigate the spouse? Brock, to your point, to go ahead and paint a picture, which if you allow them to do that, they're going to sell it to you. They presume they knew who Renee Good was before Renee Good was shot.
Yeah.
She's a provocateur. She was out there observing ICE, and her and her wife and this cadre of other white liberal women are like trying to throw sand in the gears of the law enforcement, and they're enemies. They're enemies. But there's a massive propaganda machine that can turn that story into, in essence, fact, at least for a third of the country. In a matter of hours, it's on Fox News. It's all over the internet, and then that's the narrative. That's the narrative.
Kudos to those prosecutors that said, you know what? We are not going to enthrall ourselves in this. We're not going to participate in this game. We're not going to just throw slander on a woman that we presume to be innocent simply because you guys want to go ahead and establish a narrative on this woman, on her family. No, which I found out the other day that she was a veteran as well, Renee Good.
Oh wow, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
oh wow,
she was a veteran. So anyway, look, Mark, to your question, didn't we know that our civil liberties was going to be at risk? Yes. Listen, at a minimum, we knew that the civil liberties of immigrants was going to be at risk because that's who they've been targeting for the past year and everything else like that. But I would say, man, everyone's civil liberties are at risk. It's not just the immigrants, right? You see what's happening to protesters here in this country. Their civil liberties are at risk. If you speak up against someone, right, the death of Charlie Kirk, and not say things egregious about his death, it was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. But they're attacking you if you say something. They attacked Senator Kelly. They taken away my man's pensions for telling our military, hey, you don't need to follow illegal orders. That's an attack on free speech.
But
and
I would say
tell them to do anything wrong, right? That's me telling you, they don't do the cocaine. Hey, we're gonna take away your pension. Whoa, hold on.
But I'd say that, first it was for immigrants. I mean, shit, we're all immigrants, right? But I guess recent immigrants, right? But then the government had, look, if you have a rogue government, they do shit like this. They just start redefining who's an immigrant, right? So now passports are in question, right? Birthright citizenship is in question. When naturalization is being, in essence, revoked. Right. So you just keep expanding the definition of who the others are or who doesn't deserve to have rights. And it's a creep, right? It's a slippery slope. I'm just surprised it so quickly got to gunning down a white woman in broad daylight. Like that was a quick jump from people of color to a white woman. Right. And that's part of why I think that they're trying to paint the picture so hard that she's a radical, because they don't necessarily want to scare all white people because they need them as a part of the white supremacy movement.
What if, right? This is just right another label, right? Immigrants, one label, right? Domestic terror, another label, right? And they're gonna go ahead and attack your civil liberties if you fall underneath any of these labels. Now, folks, let me throw out another label to you.
Hit me.
Democrat. Just stop. Like, what's to say this administration doesn't come out and say, we're just going to go after all Democrats right now? Because we think all of them are radical left domestic terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, ladies, everything would never. Oh, hold on. Hold on. The man already told you last week. He is simply guided by his morality. Not by laws, not by order, not by three branches of government, not by nothing, not by the Supreme Court, by his own morality.
Which he has none.
Right. So you could say he has none or he has a little bit, and if he has a little bit and it gets worse, then who's to say things can't get worse? Would never want any one person to be able to have power that is solely guided by their own morality.
So
it's Jesus Christ.
Let me flip it over to you. Let me ask you this question. Like, because we've been playing this game. Give me this scenario where it doesn't get worse. Because what's to stop it? So explain to me the rationale for why it wouldn't get worse. Is Donald Trump going to wake up tomorrow with a different view of humanity and a different, quote, morality? So tell me how this doesn't get worse every single day of the rest of our lives.
You're not asking me that, are you?
No, I'm asking Hervé because I think I know your answer. But, I'm sure you feel like you can chime in at any time.
So I think at least between now and November, it can easily get worse every single day. Another Renee Good incident. God forbid, and I don't wish it upon anybody, but I can certainly see it getting worse for us collectively every single day. And of course, the reason why I said until November is because if Democrats were able to win out on the midterm elections, they'd be able to put the brakes on a lot of stuff, right? You've already heard Eric Swalwell came out and said, woo-wee, Tom Homan, Kristen Noem, Pete Hegseth, y'all better be ready.
Okay.
Get your attorney ready, because there's going to be accountability
across the
board.
Right? Okay.
And then
how?
Before that,
hold on. Explain to me the mechanism for that accountability.
Well, now, in regards to,
we're now in a scenario where the Democrats have the House and the Senate.
Right.
What's the mechanism for the accountability?
So to go ahead and now bring these folks, like I said, the Kristi Noems and the Hegseths and Kash Patel and all this other stuff, and it's like, hey, what's going on with this investigation into this ICE officer that killed Renee Good? What's going on with this investigation that happened with this ICE officer over here? We got to go ahead and start these investigations. We're going to go ahead and curtail funds to the FBI, to the Department of Homeland Security, in the event that we don't go ahead and do these investigations. We want the mask of these ICE officers off, or we're not going to go ahead, right? Appropriations.
So it's funding. Okay, so it's the money. So you think that you think controlling the money, because I would think that Trump would just tell Hegseth, Noem, and all like don't show up, right? Even if they don't even if they impeach you, ignore it. Go to work tomorrow, because there's no enforcement mechanism. You're saying controlling the money will be able to dictate. You'll be able to starve some of these departments.
That's right. Starve some of these initiatives that they're putting out. Absolutely. You know what I mean? You're not going to prevent DHS sending out another 1,000 officers to another blue city or something else like that, but you're going to be able now to go ahead and control the purse strings. You're going to be able to go ahead and, for accountability, bring people in front of these committees to go ahead and justify what they're doing and so on and so forth. And they're going to be able to now, they're going to have to start thinking twice about what they're doing, realizing that if they're not careful, they are going to be facing the judges.
So, Hervé,
Yes.
talk to me a little bit about the need for the African American role in the resistance. If they're shooting white women in the face and then calling them a fucking bitch, where do we fit in? Because you can't ask me to come out there now. They're shooting white women. If they're shooting them, what are they going to do to me?
Well, they shooting white women, they shooting us, they shooting a lot of folks, right? And I hate to say, look, man, I hate to say that we need to segment this and protest by race, and we only protest when one of ours get harmed or get violently killed or everything else like that. There is a collective. We need to do it together. So yes, like you said, it was a white woman. It was sad that it was a person. It was sad that it was a white woman. It would have been just as sad if it had been a black woman or a Latina woman or an Asian woman or something else like that. See white folks taking the street protesting because they're genuinely concerned, scared, afraid of their civil rights being stripped and everything else like that. I love the visibility, the commentary from the mayor of Minneapolis, the governor of Minnesota, and everything else like that. So I think all those things need to continue to happen. Mark, I don't. This is a major threat, man. This is a major threat. I don't know if we have the luxury to kind of pick and choose what fights we're going to participate based off of the race of the person that had gotten violated. Right? Violation on one is a violation on all. Yeah. Right? And there's powers in numbers, as we know, right? If we remember the marches during civil rights era, right, there was peoples of all color marching during civil rights protests back in the 60s and everything else like that, right? It just wasn't black folks, and there was power in numbers, right? In the administration, they had to realize that, witness that, and they had to react to it because of the powers in numbers and so on and so forth. And I think that, protest is important. I'm all for the protest, but at some point, you have to go ahead and start putting the squeeze on folks, right? On federal. I mean, are we gonna like collectively decide not to pay our federal taxes? Whatever. I don't know what it's gonna be. It's like, but you have to stand up, and people have to put their foot down. And it's like, hey, listen, enough is enough. Like you were saying earlier, Brock, right? That these federal ICE officers, they're supposed to work for us. Our taxpayers, our tax dollars are paying their salaries and everything else like that. They do not work for us. They work for the administration. They do not work for us. They are not providing safety for us. That is not why they are here. Okay, let's be very, very clear about that, right? To the point where you have some people literally afraid of reaching out to local police because they're going ahead and they are, right, just looping all of them into the same. And local police is not the same as ICE, right? And local police is trying to fight that assimilation because they don't want to be looped in and thinking that, hey, you can't reach out to us because, we're going to react to you the same way ICE is going to react to you. That is not the situation, whatsoever, and whatnot. So I know long-winded way to answer your question, Mark, but I think at the end of the day, we have to do this collectively. But I'm glad that folks realize that civil rights is civil rights. I know that civil rights has a synonymous of meaning rights for black people because it was folks that were black in which the civil rights were impeded back in the 60s. But now people are realizing, and perhaps they realized it before, that civil rights has no color. Civil rights has no gender. Civil rights has no age or race.
Right.
Rights are civil rights, man. Human beings.
Hervé, in 2025, you said that the reason why all those No Kings protests were almost all white people is, in essence, Black America was waiting till we kind of burned it to the ground. Do you feel we've hit the burnt to the ground moment yet, now that we don't have rule of law? And look, there's been some ICE protests over the last week, but if we have some really big nationwide organized protest here, do you think it will be multiracial, multicultural, and have a different look to it than the 2025 protests? Or are we not there yet?
I think so, because the No Kings protest was really focused specifically on Donald Trump himself and his actions and everything else like that. And again, operating without laws and barriers and everything else like that, not paying attention to the Constitution. What I love seeing is when ICE goes into a city and then you see the local residents of that city surrounding the ICE officers, right? And not harming, I would never ever preach violence, right? But you're blowing whistles, you're making it loud, you're making it difficult for them to do their jobs and everything else like that. I would like to see that happen in more cities. I think you can really, really curtail. I think you can, they say like, one-on-one, nobody can guard Michael Jordan, right? And so you ask a player, how are you going to stop Michael Jordan if you're tasked to guard him? So it's got to be a collective. It's got to be a team effort. It can't be one person stopping that one guy. It has to be a team effort. I like to see a team effort in these cities of making it difficult for ICE to do their jobs, right? Yeah. Not violence, no guns, nothing like that, but just making it difficult, reminding them that they are not wanted. That they are wanted, that you guys are not coming here trying to do any kind of specific job. You guys are coming here looking to harm us. And we're going to sit here and say that, hey, listen, we're not going to let this happen in our streets, in our city, in our neighborhoods, in our backyards, that we are citizens, we are law-abiding citizens, and what you guys are doing here is straight out wrong, right? So make it difficult for them. Department of Homeland Security wants to send 1,000 federal officers to Minneapolis. I hope 1,000 residences in Minneapolis stands up to meet those 1,000 ICE officers that show up in Minneapolis. And if not 1,000 residents of Minneapolis, damn it, then 2,000 residents of Minneapolis. Here we are. Now, we're not going to fight you. We're not going to shoot you in the face like you guys do to us. But damn it, we're going to let it be known and heard that we don't want you here. You are not welcome here.
So what you're telling us, Hervé, is that you're banking on November elections for change.
I would like to see change on November. I'm not sitting here, I'm not casting any bets whatsoever that the Democrats are going to win the midterms in November. But I do believe that the Democrats are able to be victorious.
Do you think
November,
we're going?
Change can happen.
Do you think we're even going to have elections? We got to have an election in order for them to win.
Yeah. Jesus, I mean, another whole Pandora's box, man. I mean, for the love of God, right? Why should I think we're going to have elections in November? I mean,
he stole the last one.
I know. Well, but an election still took place. There's an election take place, number one. And number two, if an election does take place, are we going to accept the results of those, of the elections, right? Now, we had elections last November, not big, but governor of New Jersey, governor of Virginia, and so on and so forth, state Supreme Court of Pennsylvania and everything like that. So those elections took place statewide, and we accepted the results of those elections and everything else like that, right? So I think on a statewide basis, state by state basis, I do believe elections will take place. I think we have to be certainly very careful in the red states, and I think we have to be very careful in hotly contested states when one person narrowly wins versus another, right? You got to keep an eye out on the shenanigans on what they might try to do on those results. 2028 presidential election, that's a whole other.
But you think we'll have a 2026 election? You think we'll have one?
I believe that we will have 2026 elections because I'm not concerned about those not taking place because they're at the state level versus at the national level. That's why I believe.
Okay. Your question is whether they'll be honored, because what if there is a Democratic sweep? Will Trump allow that Democratic Congress to convene and impeach him?
Well, first of all, I don't know if that's his call to allow them to convene.
No, it's only his call if might makes right, and there's a militia around the Capitol building not allowing anyone to go to work. And if you're a congressman, either you're heavily armed and you're going to shoot your way into your seat, or you're not going to work. Look, as I may have previewed, maybe perhaps at this point an alarmist / on the fringe, but I think the worst of Trump, and I expect the worst. So I immediately go to what is in essence the worst case scenario, because I think that's where Trump's mind lives. And I just don't see him allowing a scenario that certainly takes him out of power, but I'm not even sure he even allows a scenario where his power gets diminished. So I think he will quickly move to violence because he doesn't care about America like we do.
So you're talking about him calling on his people to once again storm the Capitol in November if Democrats sweep out.
Yeah, or by
Something
saying
like
that it was a rigged election and invalid election, and we can't allow this Congress to convene until we get to the bottom of it. Those radical liberals, treasonous Democrats that you talked about stole this election, blah, 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 blah. You know, whatever lie it takes to justify. He's already got his own domestic army ready to go. And by then there'll be 10 months, there'll be a bigger, stronger, maybe not faster, but there'll be more of them out there because we're hiring more agents. They don't feel like they work for us. They work for him. If they still want their paychecks, they're going to defend him. I'm like, why did the Venezuelan army back Maduro when everyone in the country knew he had lost the last election? And then he said, oh, that election was fraudulent, and he kept himself in power, right? That's how Maduro stayed in power, because the military didn't.
And again, that was a presidential election.
That was presidential. Okay,
And I'm genuinely concerned about our presidential election.
Okay. You think Trump will allow the congressional election to go through, but because he only cares about himself. And he thinks he can finagle. He thinks he can still finagle or maintain his power even if he allows a Democratic Congress. But you just defined a scenario where Congress then tightens the purse strings and stops funding his army, and if his militia isn't getting paid anymore, they might not stay on the job. So I'm not sure Trump would allow that. He may just raid the Treasury then. I don't know. Maybe he'll go to Fort Knox and just steal all the gold and hand out gold bars to his ICE agents. I don't know. I wouldn't put anything past him. I would put nothing past him to stay in power.
Well, I agree with you, and neither would I. And I think he obviously started last year thinking ahead of the midterm elections this November. What did he do last year in anticipation of him believing that the Republicans would not win out? He called Governor Abbott in Texas and said, this is what you need to do. You need to redraw the maps, okay? As we know, Governor Newsom of California responded in kind. So Trump knew in advance or believed in advance, hey, or perhaps just drew it as a hedge in case we don't win out in November 2026. I just want to make it harder in advance for Democrats to vote in these red states. I think he was trying to have the same thing done in Indiana and so on and so forth, right? And so Brock, I hear you, right? It's like, damn, why this man is thinking ahead like this because he thinks it'll go lose because in anticipation, right? They're trying to get rid of mail-in voting again, but this time around, like if you get your ballot in on the last day it's due, that it may not be counted, kind of thing. They're trying to change up those laws, right?
Because they know they can't win. They can't win a fair election.
They can't win straight up, right? They can't win, right?
Right.
They're just moving the goalposts and moving the free throw line up and all that other stuff, right? They can't win straight out. So what can we do with the laws to make it that much more difficult for the Democrats to win? Then fast forward, right? So again, I borrow from, if you want, what they call the Blue Tuesday from last November, right? When New Jersey governor won, when Virginia governor won, when state Supreme Court of Pennsylvania won. There might have been a few others and everything else like that the week after the Democrats caved in and decided to open up government, right? Because that was all during the government shutdown that those elections took place. Like that, right? Now, he could have, back on that Blue Tuesday or the morning thereafter, said, oh my God, New Jersey election was rigged. Virginia election was rigged, blah, 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 right? And we didn't hear that from him. Jersey wasn't closely contested. I don't remember if Virginia was.
No, none of them were. But I would also argue none of those results impacted Trump. So, like, did he really care enough does he really care who the governor of New Jersey is? Like, doesn't affect his pocketbook or his power? That was my take on it. If it had really, really mattered to him, he would have lied. but it wasn't worth the lie. He was saving his good ones for something else.
I will tell you this. Yes, I agree with you there, and I will tell you this. I'm 100% in the boat with both of you guys. I wouldn't put him past him to try to do something to circumvent these elections, either from happening this November, or if they then do happen, then he's gonna holler about the results. If they don't go in his favor, he'll be truth social. Believe a Democrat, right? All of that noise, right? And then I don't know. Does he call his troops to the Capitol? Does he call his Jan 6 people that he pardoned last year? Does he call them back to the Capitol? Right? We saw what happened with Mike Johnson. With what state was the lady from that she won, and
Arizona.
Mike Johnson didn't want Arizona.
Yeah.
Mike Johnson didn't want to swear her
Well,
in.
what if
He didn't want to swear.
I'm just thinking about
right because of the whole Epstein files.
what if even the Democrats take it, but then Trump says that the Congress no longer has the power of the purse. Executive branch is going to be in charge of the money from here on out. What's Congress going to do? I mean, he's already broken down the court system, so what's to stop him from just taking any influence and power away from Congress? Once again, at the end of the day, he has all the guns.
Well, the president can't, but doesn't mean that he won't try. Right? He can't take the purse away from the Congress. That's the doggone Constitution. He can't take purse away from the Congress. Doesn't mean he won't try. How does that happen? I don't know. Especially
I don't know. Whoever has the login to the Treasury has the money, right? I mean, he could just change the password, put a gun to who's in charge, or put a crony in charge, like they're trying to do with the Fed with Jerome Powell. Put a crony in charge, and that person just says, you know what? From here on out, the president's in charge of all the money. Congress, What are you going to do about it? Like I'm always in the camp of the what are you going to do about it scenario, because I feel like Trump just keeps pushing the envelope and taking away rights and changing laws and quote norms. He's thrown all the norms out and just keeps changing it. Right? Look, we just went to war without Congress's say so. We're talking about going to war with an ally in Greenland without Congress's say so. So he just keeps stepping forward, going, "What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it?" So I think, back to a previous question I'd asked earlier, which is like, what would stop things from getting worse every day? I mean, Trump has smart people behind him. He's a moron, but he's got smart people in the shadows who want to take over this country, giving him ideas on different things that he can just do.
Right.
And give them the finger like he gave to that auto worker in Detroit today who called him a pedo protector. He can just give us all the finger because he has... Because he has, as long as he has, unfortunately, like look, when we look around the world, in the end of the day, when there's like revolutions going on, it's like, where does the military side, right? When it came to Egypt in the Arab Spring, where was the military going to side? It always comes down to who's the military going to back, because your constitution's out the window at that moment, but in terms of raw power, it comes down to who has the guns.
It always does. And I wouldn't say that our military backs him or doesn't back him. Pete Hegseth aside.
Yeah, we don't know yet. They haven't been challenged.
Right. And, but I have faith in our military. I have faith in our military and them respecting the Constitution. Ooh. No, like in our military, not ICE agents. I'm not equating ICE agents with military whatsoever and everything else like that, right? You saw how they all kind of sat. The generals, they sat on their hands when they were called. Yep.
Okay. I know that was okay.
And it was very strange.
It was strange. So let's gameplay again. Let's say tomorrow, Minneapolis, smoke bomb hits someone in the head. Someone comes out, pulls a gun, shoots an ICE agent. ICE agents, a riot breaks out. 5 ICE agents are killed. 26 Minneapolis are killed, and the streets are just smoke bombs everywhere, and now something's turned violent. Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, martial law, and sends troops to Minneapolis. Do the troops go? What percentage of the troops go to Minneapolis to fight with the American citizens?
So here's the thing. Because of the example you used, that's not an example that I would use to determine whether or not the military has his back. Because remember, what your hypothetical here, he did that in Los Angeles last year. The Marines, Camp Pendleton, he sent them onto the streets of Los Angeles for some freaking protests that was going on. You would think that there was looting going on like the days after Rodney King verdict. None of that was going on. It was some from freaking silent, quiet protests, and he calls it Marine, not National Guard. National Guard was called too, but then the Marines were called on.
Okay.
Brock, in your hypothetical, yes, I believe if he were to call on the Marines, insurrectionists, they would go. That's not a violation of the Constitution in the manner of, unfortunately, 5 ICE officers were killed, 25 Minnesotans killed. Now there's violence on the streets and protests and everything else like that. He's going to do what he's going to do, right? If a Marine is going out to Minneapolis because Trump says, hey, we got to go and quell the violence over there and everything else, I'm like, okay, we got to quell the violence because there's a lot of violence, people died and all this other shit. But now, I wasn't suggesting something like that, right? I was suggesting, like, now Trump, is calling upon the military truly to go after not only U.S. citizens, but also U.S. politicians, only if anything because he feels like it. Not because there was killing of ICE agents or killing of local residents in Minnesota, but just because.
Right.
Like, I order you to go ahead and shoot this person in the head. Why? Because I order you. Well, hold on. Right? This is what Ray Kelly was telling the troops. You don't need to take on an illegal order. Mm-hmm. The troops know that they're not supposed to take on an illegal order. Ray Kelly was reminding them.
I know. I just feel like there's so many gray areas, and with so many people out on the streets and so much anger boiling over and so much weaponry out there, just like me and Mark all year have been talking about, we can't believe there hasn't been someone shot by ICE on video yet, right? And it took the whole, because you'd hear about people dying in detention centers. There was that crazy raid in Chicago in the middle of the night. Like, it's almost amazing that it took all year to have that incident on video. I'm saying now going into 2026, it's almost impossible that there's not going to be an incident where violence escalates and an ICE agent gets killed by somebody. It's going, and most things are videoed these days. So there's a good chance we're going to have a video of a clash, a violent clash between ICE and somebody. And at that moment, Trump doesn't even need the justification, as me and Mark were talking about yesterday. But at that moment, Trump could invoke martial law, quote, justifiably, gray area-ish, right? In that moment, and then boom, I guess we could have the military on the streets of any U.S. city or multiple U.S. cities at any given point in time. Then we're there, right? Then we're there. Then we're exactly where Iran is right now, right? Where the army is literally just at war, in essence, with the citizens who are looking for a revolution, meaning leadership change on the streets. Right now, people are out there just saying, let's defund ICE. We haven't switched over to the rhetoric, which is we need to fucking get rid of Trump. This protest is about removing Trump. And oh, by the way, we're not happy with J.D. Vance stepping in either. Like, we're talking about, we need change.
Regime change.
So maybe it hasn't happened yet, but I just can't see we're going to go between now and the election and not have some volatile incidents on the streets. Like, I'm talking about, like, people are going to die. More people are going to die out there.
That will happen. Unfortunately, that will happen. It will happen on both sides. ICE officers and innocent civilians, right? Just like it happened last week. It will happen because there's nothing being done to de-escalate all of this negative action that's going place. As a matter of fact, it's the complete
because there is no leadership. Yeah, there's no
leadership, or the leadership is doing everything they can to escalate the situation. When you say that you're going to send out another 2,000 federal officers in Minneapolis, that's not de-escalating it. That's escalating it.
That's what they want,
right? That's
exactly
what they want, right? And Brock, to your point, yeah, it will be to his benefit to have to declare martial law on the streets of Minneapolis or whatever other metropolitan cities, blue city in this country. Without a doubt in my mind. He would love to see that. Elections can still take place during.
Okay, I was just gonna say I'm predicting martial law ahead of elections.
He's gonna. I don't think he'll allow it during martial law. I think he'll say
that's not him. Again, that's up to Congress
and the states. I see your point, Hervé. States could still.
The states still can host the elections and everything else like that, right? I
mean, well, remember what he said in 2020. He should have seized the ballot boxes.
Yeah.
And as someone just said in the chat, when he was with Zelensky and he heard like, oh, so you can't have elections because you're at war, he can play that card as well. Like America's at war. He can engineer a war in a heartbeat. He's doing it pretty much bi-weekly.
We did have elections during our Civil War.
Yeah.
I had looked that up. Yeah, we did. It was a long time ago. Well, we did have elections.
Media coverage was very different back then.
No social media going on right there. You know what I mean? So let me tell you guys, I would say this. I don't put anything past him. You can't, and all I say is, if you want to get an idea of how this goes, right, this is very eerily similar to what you see taking place in third world and developing countries.
We are a shithole country.
Closely aligned to its government leader, right? And it's scary. I mean, it's revolution on the streets. Anytime a president of Haiti wind up leaving the country is because he was forcibly escorted out because revolutions hit the streets, right? And the people wanted, Brock, to your point, a regime change.
Yeah.
Right? And is that what it's going to take? Now, let me tell you something right now, right? We see these protests taking place in Iran as protests have taken place in Haiti and other third world and developing countries. Why are the folks in those countries, why are they so passionate for regime change? Is because they can no longer take their lifestyle. Not because Renee Good got shot in the head or an ICE agent got shot in the head. Wrong, sad, let's protest. But I still have a job. I can still go to school. My kids still going to school. I still have health care and so on and so forth. But you're talking about protesters in Haiti, protesters in Iran, protesters in Venezuela, protesters in these third and developing countries where you have no job, you have no income, you can't go to school, you have no protection for your family, no health care, the supermarkets are empty. And you want to sit here on your throne and profess this and that. After a while, enough is enough. We can't take it anymore. So the collective rises from the
desperation.
Desperation. And that's what's taking place in Iran. That's what's
and the difference and in America,
we don't have
our quality of life. Our quality of life is still too good for us to risk.
There's no impact.
To be out there.
People's 401k plans are doing okay. People's stock performance doing okay. People still got their jobs. They get their pension, living in sunny Florida, and so on and so forth, right? I'm not saying it's easy for folks out there. They're still struggling. Inflation's still up there. Cost of this, cost of that. I get it. But our lifestyle, our way of life, civil rights might be being threatened. But damn it, I better have my job, my school, my education, healthcare, right? I still have that. Kids went back to college after the holidays last week, right? I mean, so these things are still going on. These things are still going on. When you see masses out on the street like that, it's because they have nothing left. And the government isn't hearing them. And this is like a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola that's been vigorously shaken for years. And now you've finally screw off the cap. It just boils over. We are not at a boiling point yet because our lifestyle is still intact. To what extent are people going to say, I'm going to take this because my civil rights are being impacted and everything else like that, right? Billionaires are still out there cutting checks. Millionaires are still out there cutting checks, right? They don't think that their civil rights are being impeded. I would have been a Renee.
A lot of people lost their health care, though. A lot of people can't afford their health care, so they're going to have some catastrophic incidents that are going to injure or kill loved ones, you know, and that's the sort of thing that drives anger, right? When somebody dies because they couldn't afford that ACA because it was taken from them because there wasn't money for that, but there was money for ICE, right? That's the sort of thing that generates ire, right? We saw how mad the farmers were, right? When they lost their soybean customers and then they had to get thrown a handout.
Were they hungry? They must have been hungry.
You know.
So it's I would hate for us to have to wait in order to get to our lifestyles being so disrupted to ask for or demand a regime change, but I don't know, man. I feel like sometimes bad is bad, right? We see Renee Good getting shot and killed in broad daylight. We see George Floyd being killed in broad daylight, and people protest and they're upset and they write their congressmen and they take to the streets and so on and so forth. But then they're going to work the next day. They're going to Wegmans the next day and the supermarket shelves are full. Things might be a little bit more expensive, like our bacon and eggs, but the shelves are still full with food. You're talking about some of those countries, brother, in Venezuela and Haiti.
Yeah, we live a great life.
Get food.
Shelves are empty. Can't get food.
We live a great life in America. I think it's going to take some additional economic pain for much more of America to tip the numbers over to have, like, in essence, enough people willing to get out on the streets that as long as people are still economically comfortable, they're not inclined to protest aggressively.
The wave of the Blue Tuesday last November showed you that. It's like, all right, I may not go out and protest, but
I'll vote. Yeah.
I'm not going to vote. And affordability was the number one issue on the ballots last November, as it will be again this November. And he wants to keep on saying, I don't want to hear about affordability no more. Okay, fine. You don't need to hear about affordability no more. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my damn vote to the polls in November, and I'm going to let you know how much.
Yeah, I worry.
Now, he's saying that, but what he's doing is he's going to look. He's dumb, but not dumb. He governs by his polls. We know this. As up and down as it goes, like a freaking roller coaster. And if he keeps on hearing that this is the number one issue on people's mind, the cost of groceries and healthcare and everything else like that, he's going to try to do things in his power. And he's trying to say, okay, maybe I got to dial back tariffs on.
Yeah, and I mean, and he has this credit card rate cap, and supposedly he's going to come out with a healthcare plan next week. Literally, that supposedly they floated that story that there's going to be some quote healthcare affordability plan. So I get it. Yeah, he's going to try to throw like some buckets of water on some of these fires that just to placate people, just to get them to go back to watching football instead of being out on the streets.
That's right. It's like, well, you know, he actually, because we know that these snippets in politics, they're very short-lived, right? Are people still talking about the Epstein list no more, right? As much as you want that damn thing released, right? Let me throw a war out there.
In the zone.
The damn Epstein list, right?
Flooding the zone.
Venezuela this week, Iran. Venezuela last week, Iran this week. What country am I going to go after next year? Week, Greenland. Look, what am I going to do after Greenland? I'm going to go after Colombia, Mexico.
We kept today's discussion to domestic. Next one, we can talk about the international relations shit show that Trump has unleashed on the world.
It's just, right?
Yeah, man.
Let's put it all in the pot, right? Let's confuse them. Let's overload the media so they can't spend too much time on one issue. They're going to have another, oh my God, do you believe what he said yesterday? Oh my God, do you know who we're attacking today? Oh my God, right? It's like, Epstein, which Epstein list? I don't know what you're talking about,
it's
right?
Not a single page. It's been 13 days. Not a single page has come out in 2026. No mechanism for getting it.
When something
We have
does
no mechanism for forcing Pam Bondi to release it.
No,
So,
no. And when it does get released, you know you're going to see a very abridged,
yeah, we won't see
redacted
shit.
version.
It's a joke.
It's a joke.
All right, gentlemen, another brisk and lively conversation. Can't thank you enough for getting me riled up and having to go continue to take alcohol to take the
But
edge
I will
off.
say, Hervé, you
So
did give me a strategic answer for why the midterms could make a difference based upon the control of
Sure.
the purse and Congress somehow
choking off the
choking
money.
off the money and holding on to that power. I'm skeptical,
Yeah.
but I now have like a cogent counter argument to where I've been at, which is like Trump's not going to give a fuck, and we're going to have a violent revolution in America one of these days.
One of these
Yes,
days
indeed.
in one of these cities.
We need it.
And it's,
We need to have it.
you know, it will be a sad day when it happens, because we're all going to say we saw this coming, like you guys were talking about. We can't believe shooting hasn't taken place yet by an ICE agent, and sure enough, it took place, you know, last week. So we could see it coming, right? This is the embers, right, of the flames, right, that are just continuing to be added, right? So the boiling over. Is it going to be a little child next that's shot and killed in video by an ICE agent, right? Kind of like, what is it going to take, you know, kind of thing, right? And people retaliate because people are angry, right? You're going to tip over the minivan of an ICE agent, you know, and all this other stuff, and you know,
And we're off and running.
yeah, you know, I mean, look at you remember the riots that took place down in Charlottesville, Virginia, years ago, 2016.
Yeah, not.
These will not replace
It
us.
seems like a lifetime ago. So we've gone long, but I do have a quick hit. Interesting note today is that I saw that Joe Rogan came out on his show, knucklehead that he is, but said that he doesn't see the difference between ICE and Nazi Gestapo. And I just like when I hear like such a, you know, malosphere, white guy, huge following, lobbing out that kind of talk, because that penetrates that other side, the people that I can't
We've been
penetrate,
saying-
and we're not penetrating on our little discussions. So I was just happy to see that, because we definitely need more voices as well to, in essence, maybe convince people to think differently about what's going on around them, if that's the right way of phrasing it.
You got 20,000 World Cup ticket cancellations. U.S.
Have we? Yeah.
telling the world we're not worthy. Please don't come here. Your athletes won't be safe. How about that? All the money, because we're supposed to have games here in Atlanta.
Yeah, we're supposed to have games here in Jersey.
Yeah, the games will go on. We shouldn't. It's amazing we're hosting the world when we're so, against the world.
Anti-world.
But Hervé, it's been a good 3 months since we've spoken, maybe even 4. So let's not let it go that long next time. You definitely bring a different, as one of our,
To be on.
someone close to me likes to say, the show is so much more thoughtful when Hervé's on here.
Never heard
Instead of you and Mark just ranting, the show's a lot more thoughtful. Code for, I don't know, you two yahoos need to get some, like, can we add some IQ to the show? I feel like, I don't know what's really being said, but it's a compliment to you anyway. Me and Mark
You
can
had to put it in air quotes.
yeah, me and Mark can decide whether it's an insult to us, but it's definitely a compliment to you, so maybe we don't have to look at the other side of the
Hilarious.
Anything I could do to help uplift the show, not that it needs any kind of uplifting. I think you guys do a tremendous job, you know. But if I can
That's
add
funny.
that to the discourse,
We appreciate the addition to the discourse.
love participating.
Yes,
Love
sir.
All right.
participating. It's always a lot.
All right, my friends. We'll wrap it up this time. Hervé, we'll see you same time next week.
Let's do it, brother. Let's do
All
it.
right.
Get me on, but we'll know there'll be a whole bunch of new topics to discuss.
No doubt. They'll flood the zone. All right. Good stuff, gentlemen. Always a
Be in
pleasure.
Cleveland next
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right,
Bye.
guys. Take care. Have a good
Peace.
one. Bye-bye.